Hey there, everybody. My name is Corey Jones. I'm with Compassion Works for All here in Little Rock, and I'm glad to have you with us today. If you're watching with us live, welcome. If you're watching a recording later on, we're glad to have you here as well. I'm been going through a stack of letters that was on my desk. A lot of our work is correspondence. We send a monthly newsletter out to people who are incarcerated across the country. And as you might imagine, that generates quite a bit of mail coming back in our direction. I was especially reading a letter this morning from a gentleman who's incarcerated here in Arkansas, and he made a comment that a lot of people tend to make in letters to us. He said, one of the main reasons I'm writing to you is because I don't have anyone writing to me. I don't have anybody to connect with. Everyone I know on the outside has kind of forgotten about me, and so I just feel alone. And so I appreciate getting mail from you. So I wrote him a quick letter. I'm going to go stick it in the mail after we're done here now. But that's been weighing on me today. I'll just get real personal here for a moment. My wife and I have adopted children from the state foster care system, and I get regular notices about the update for one of our kids' dads who is incarcerated here in Arkansas, and had an update on him recently. And so I was looking up his information, and plan to write to him today. And so just things like that are kind of weighing on me right now, and people's suffering, people's frustrations, and especially people's loneliness and isolation. A lot of times, whenever we go through times of stress and times of conflict, that can be mitigated a little bit when we know we're surrounded by people who are supportive of us and willing to be helpful. My mom, I spoke to my mom yesterday. Yesterday was Mother's Day. I spoke to her yesterday. She is actually on a trip in Europe right now. She and her husband are there, and they're flying back home today. But she got a notice yesterday on her phone that their flight had been canceled, and she wasn't going to make it out of the country. And my oldest son is graduating from high school this week, and she was in full on panic mode that they were going to miss his high school graduation. And so we talked, and I assured her, whatever we can do from our end to help figure it out, we'll do. And she called an hour or so later and said, okay, it's all worked out. It's all resolved. We'll be there. So there's something calming and something comforting about knowing that in times of stress and conflict, we're going through it with other people. But the intensity of the stress heightens when we think we are experiencing it all alone, and when we're experiencing it all by ourselves. And that's why it is so critical to recognize how much we are interconnected with each other, and how much we, in spite of how we may feel sometimes, how much we are actually not alone. Especially in those times where maybe we're convinced that we actually are. There's an exercise that I do whenever I go into our jails and prisons. I realize I'm talking a lot today. I'm sorry. I'm going to get to the meditation, I promise. But there's an exercise that I do whenever I go into our local jail here in Little Rock. And I just find an object, and I ask everyone to pick up an object. Today, there's the spoon sitting right in front of me. I had a peanut butter sandwich yesterday, and I used this spoon to scoop out the peanut butter. So I'm going to use this spoon. If you take something like a plastic spoon, despite the fact that it's going to take forever to biodegrade and it's kind of terrible for the environment, that aside, if you think about this plastic spoon, there was someone who made this plastic spoon. My guess would be some machine operator ran the plastics through the machine, and it cut into the shape of this plastic spoon. And then someone else got it into a box. Someone else got that box full of these spoons into a larger box, and then that box onto a crate, and then that crate onto a truck. Someone, a human person, drove that truck full of crates of these plastic spoons from wherever it was created to wherever it was warehoused. And then some warehouse workers took the boxes of these spoons and put them on other shelves or on other trucks. And then those trucks went to other places. Anyway, eventually someone took the box that this spoon was in and put it on a shelf in a grocery store. And then I walked into that store, and I picked up that box, and I paid for it, and I brought it here to my desk. Now think about all of the people involved just in getting this spoon into my hand right now. And now not only is this spoon in my hand, but you're looking at it right now. So this spoon has now reached your life as well. Everything around us is like that. Everything that we touch, everything that we see. I believe John Donne, the poet, when he wrote that no man is an island, and we are really not. We are connected through a deep web of relationships, a deep web of life, of interactions. Our problem is that we are not always looking for it. More than anything, we tend to look at all the ways that we are isolated. And that can have some pretty detrimental effects on us. There's a lot of good research out there about the effects of loneliness, and the toll that it can take on our mind and on our body. There was one study I read recently that said that loneliness, chronic loneliness, can have just as much of a detrimental impact on our mind and body as chronic smoking and obesity. It can take that much of a toll on us. So I say all of that to say that it's very critical that we not only recognize the ways in which we're connected to people, but we also put it into practice. We actually go and make meaningful connections with people around us, people near us. I so appreciate what we can do through Zoom and the fact that we're able to stay together. Even though COVID restrictions are starting to lift, we found Zoom to be a pretty convenient tool to continue to use. So I'm very grateful for it. It helps us connect with people we might not otherwise connect with. But wherever we have opportunity to go connect with people in person and in the flesh, it's absolutely critical that we do that. So last thing that I'll say is, to that end, if meditation and mindfulness are something that you enjoy doing in community with people, the Ecumenical Buddhist Society here in Little Rock has opened up once again. They've lifted their COVID restrictions, and you can go in person now to their 11:30 seated meditation time every weekday. And that's right across the street from the Capitol in downtown Little Rock. The Ecumenical Buddhist Society at 11:30. So you do have to have been vaccinated, and they'll ask for evidence of that. So you can bring your scanned card or your actual card. They would like to know that you've been vaccinated. And if you want to wear a mask or whatever, that's fine as well, but they don't require it. So, okay, that was a lot of talking this morning. Let's get going with our meditation time here. Connected as we are, that connection always begins inwardly first. So I invite you into a mindful posture. If you're seated in a chair like I am, have your feet flat on the floor. Begin to feel a little bit heavy in the seat that you're in. But don't allow that to make you slouch. Feel heavy, let gravity do its work, but also maintain a sense of attentive comfort with your spine, with your shoulders. Create some separation between your teeth so that you're not clenching your jaw. Your eyes can be opened or closed. And we'll begin our time together with the sound of 3 bells. We're going to begin today by letting go of any pressure or any need to do this right. We can so often put that pressure on ourselves. And so we're going to let that go for today. We are going to set aside our need to be goal-oriented. We're going to set aside our need to check something off our list. We're going to set aside our need to do anything, and we're just going to be. Be present. Be you, exactly as you are. Start to welcome every part of yourself into this meditation time. Welcome the parts of yourself that you find appealing and valuable, and the parts of yourself that you find embarrassing or shameful, the parts that you keep hidden, the parts that maybe you've been cultured and conditioned to believe are somehow bad or negative. We're just going to bring all of that into our meditation time, our entire self, our entire being. And we'll start by smiling to ourselves. Generate a sense of warmth, a sense of compassion. Accept yourself, maybe the way that you have always longed for other people to accept you. Be confident in the reality that you are good. Notice how it feels to think of yourself in warm, loving ways. Notice how it feels to look for the good inside of yourself. And take just a moment to name what you find when you look for the good within you. What are the good qualities? What are you good at? What do you find lovable about yourself? What qualities are you really glad to have been born with or to have cultivated over the course of your life? And now take a moment to draw to mind someone for whom you have great affection. The first person who comes to mind who just the thought of them makes you smile. Take just a moment and consider the things that you love the most about them. Notice how it feels to think about all of their good qualities. Notice the way it fills you with light, with life, with joy, at just the thought of them. And just thinking about a loved one or a friend, someone for whom we have affection, just thinking about them connects us with them. Even if they're deceased, and even if it's someone that we've never met in person. We have a kinship, we have a kindred bond. Take just a moment now to draw to mind someone for whom you have negative thoughts, negative feelings. Somebody who maybe causes you stress, maybe someone who has harmed or hurt you in the past. And take just a moment now to do the same thing. What is good inside of them? What are the good qualities even inside people for whom maybe we only have negative feelings? Notice how by looking for the good, it softens your view and your perspective of them. Notice also how by looking for the good, it causes you to feel a connection with them. That connection might be small, and it might not be something that ever plays out in real time, but by feeling a kinship, by feeling a connection, it has changed you. It changes your demeanor, your perspective. And finally, imagine that you are in a place in nature where you love to go, an actual place. Imagine yourself being there right now. What do you see when you look around? What sounds do you hear while you're there? What do you smell? And what do you feel? Is the temperature warm or cold? Is it one of those just right places where you can barely notice the air? Notice what it does to you to think about being in your favorite place. And think about all the ways in which you are connected to your natural surroundings at all times, but especially when you're seated in your favorite place. If there are trees, if there's grass, if there's plants or vegetation of any kind, you and those trees or grass or plants, you're all breathing the same air when you're there together. Same with animals, birds. You're sharing the earth with each other. We are never fully alone. We are always surrounded by someone or something with whom we have a deep and profound physical and spiritual connection. And even if we feel alone or believe that we are somehow isolated, our loved ones are as close as our thoughts. Places that give us life and energy. If we can't physically get to them, we can go there in our mind and feel that sense of peace and remind ourselves that we are connected everywhere, all the time. And so for the last few moments, let's spend a bit of time noticing how this feels to be deeply and profoundly connected to people and to places and to things. And as we sit in these final few minutes, maintain your mindful posture. Connect with your breath. Be intentional with where your mind and your thoughts go. If they wander off from the present, gently bring them back. And for the last couple of minutes, let's sit mindfully breathing, being aware of the connection that we share right now in this present moment. If your mind has wandered, gently return it back. Connect with your body, maybe wiggle your toes a bit. Take in one last deep inhale, and as you breathe out, you can open your eyes. As always, I hope that was helpful. I hope that this gives you some insight into the ways in which we're all connected, and that you'll especially look for opportunities to not only remind yourself of the connections that you share with people, but to remind others as well. As I mentioned at the beginning, we spend a great deal of time connecting with people who are incarcerated in jails and prisons around the country. If that's ever something you're interested in doing in providing for people, you're certainly welcome to reach out to us at Compassion Works for All. You can find us um, anywhere you go to look for things, the internet, social media, but reach out and we would love to help you with that. Or if you know of people in the circles in which you operate who maybe experience loneliness, a sense of isolation, this week might be a good time to just reach out, let them know that you're there. You don't have to become anyone's best friend or anything like that, but at least let people know that you see them and that they're not alone. And that reminder can go a long, long way for all of us. So I hope that's helpful for you today, and we will see you next time.